something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace. Let me
just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that, too, when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans have said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. Why you...
Okay, Republicans, listen up. You guys are going to have to get over this fear of calling a spade a spade. You got to get over that. If Republicans cannot grow a pair, we will never win. We will lose at every turn, even when we're supposed to win. Right now, you have a dismal president and an even more miserable vice president. It shouldn't even be a contest. But Republicans, because they're so scared of the New York Times and the Washington Post and Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid calling them racist, because they call a spade a spade. It was Joe Biden who said, I am only going to look for a running mate that is a woman and a woman of color. She is, by definition, a diversity hire. By the way, it doesn't stop there. Pete Buttigieg is a diversity hire. This administration is diversity hire written. Good God. By the way, all of you Republicans, you're so scared when the left does it with impunity. They will, on national television in prime time, call Clarence Thomas and Uncle Tom. They do the same thing with Tim Scott or Donaldson or any other black politician or black person that dares to leave the plantation. And they do it and no one says boo. But if you call a spade, Kamala being a DEI hire, by the way, those are Joe Biden's own standards. Somehow, some way, you're the racist. Come on, I understand. You don't want to be called a racist. No one does. I understand that. And I understand the trepidation. I do. I get it. But you got to get over that. I knew I was going to be called an Uncle Tom, shucking and jiving for the white man. Get over it. That's the gig. By the way, why is she even asking the question? I thought diversity, equity, and inclusion, well, was a virtuous thing. I thought diversity, equity, and inclusion was the pinnacle of human existence. I thought diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure, in Kamala's own words, that everyone ends up at the same place. I thought it was a wonderful thing. Why are you trying to use it against him? I would think that if he said, yeah, she's a diversity hire, sure. But diversity, equity, and inclusion, from your own standards, is a wonderful thing. I thought that's what you thought. That's what you said. Let me tell you something. Listen closely. The road to DEI, once you get on that road to diversity, equity, and inclusion, it necessarily means that you have to ignore every off-ramp that suggests incompetence. Let me say it again. On the road to diversity, equity, and inclusion, you have to ignore all of the off-ramps that would suggest incompetence, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is not about competence. It's about aesthetics. I understand. I know. No one wants to be called a racist. I get it. But that's the gig. Because that's what you think that Joy Reid is not going to call you an Uncle Tom if you're black, or a white supremacist if you're white? They're going to call you a moron if you're a woman? Look at her. All she wants to do is stay home and have babies. Yeah. Wow. What a wonderful, what a horrible, horrible thing, to actually raise a family. You're going to have to get over it. And I understand what Trump is trying to do here, because he's trying to thread this needle, because he know, at least, thank God, at least he knew he was being set up. He said, well, why don't you define it for me? And by the way, she doesn't. She doesn't define it. That's when everyone, regardless of where they came from, ends up in the same place. Those were Kamala's words, not mine. And for the non-thinkers who believe that there is virtue in diversity, equity, and inclusion, there can only be one CEO. There can only be one commander-in-chief. When you say, well, no, it's that everyone ends up in the same place. Yeah, but there can only be one president. How is everybody going to end up there? You mean that every single congressman or woman is going to end up being president? Those are not my words, not my standards. That's Kamala's standards. There can only be one vice president. You know how many people are going to be vice president in a lifetime? Not very many. Not everybody is going to, start a company. Not everybody is going to start an NGO. Not everybody is going to be mega successful. This notion that everyone has to be at the same place is insane. I know you guys are scared. Stop. They do it with impunity. They'll call you on national television a white supremacist. They've been calling Donald Trump Adolf Hitler. I know you don't like it. I know. You need to get over it. You need to get over it. Because it's only going to get nastier. You understand that part, don't you? Do you think that this is it? That it's not going to get, knock out, drag out? I'm sorry, but it is. It's going to get more and more and more nasty because Democrats don't care about standards. They care about power, and they'll do and say anything that yields even a infinitesimal amount of power. They'll do it. Now, if you're not up to the task, if you're too scared to be called a racist, you're too scared, they got you shaking in your boots, they're going to call me a white person. You are a white person. How is that an insult? That's like calling me black. I'm black. God, are you scared of your own shadow? Man, it's so frustrating because you know that the left doesn't care. They say whatever they want, and they say it about whomever they want. God forbid you actually speak truth. That she is a diversity hire. All right, that's it for now. If you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe. If you're following me on Rumble, please press that follow button. I gotta calm down. Until the next time, God bless.